Welcome to Journey Through Eras, where we explore the fascinating evolution of the world's most influential symbols, currencies, and milestones throughout history. Today, we're diving into the story of one of the most powerful and enduring currencies, the US dollar. From its humble colonial beginnings to its rise as the global reserve currency, the dollar has undergone a remarkable transformation. Join us as we trace the dollar's history and understand how it became a cornerstone of the modern global economy. The history of the dollar is a story of evolution, transformation, and dominance in the world of finance. The dollar has emerged as one of the most recognized and influential currencies on the planet, but its journey to becoming the global reserve currency was neither simple nor inevitable. From its modest colonial beginnings to its ascent as the world's leading currency, the dollar has played a central role in shaping the global economy. The early beginnings, colonial America and the Spanish dollar. Before the United States even existed, various forms of currency were used across the American colonies, and much of it was borrowed from European traditions. In the 17th and 18th centuries, the colonies relied heavily on foreign coinage, especially Spanish silver dollars, known as pieces of 8. These coins were used throughout the Americas and Europe due to their consistency in weight and silver content. The Spanish dollar was so widely circulated in the Americas that when the United States was formed, the country's new government found it practical to base its currency on this coin. In 1792, the U.S. government established the U.S. dollar as its official currency through the Coinage Act, which set the dollar's value concerning silver. This marked the birth of the U.S. dollar, though the country would continue to rely on precious metals like gold and silver for much of its early monetary policy. The birth of the U.S. dollar and the Coinage Act of 1792. The Coinage Act of 1792 not only created the U.S. dollar, but also established the U.S. Mint, tasked with producing the country's coinage. Initially, the dollar was based on a bimetallic standard, meaning that its value was tied to both gold and silver. The dollar became the country's standard of value, and the U.S. government began to issue coins made of silver, gold, and copper. While the dollar had officially been created, it wasn't until the mid-19th century that it began to spread across the country as a dominant form of currency. During the early years of the United States, the economy was still deeply rooted in bartering, and states issued their own currency, further complicating trade and economic development. The rise of the dollar, the Civil War, and the greenback. The U.S. dollar's evolution took a significant turn during the Civil War, 1861 to 1865, when the United States issued paper money for the first time. The U.S. government needed funds to finance the war effort, and one way to do this was through the creation of paper currency known as greenbacks. These notes were not backed by any precious metal and were essentially a form of fiat currency, money that had value by government decree, rather than being tied to a tangible asset. The introduction of greenbacks marked the beginning of the U.S. dollar's transformation into a more flexible currency, but it also created significant economic turmoil. The value of greenbacks fluctuated throughout the war and after it, reflecting the uncertain state of the U.S. economy. After the war ended, the U.S. government made efforts to stabilize the dollar by returning to a gold standard, where the value of the dollar would be pegged to a specific amount of gold. The gold standard and the dollar's growing influence. By the late 19th century, the United States fully embraced the gold standard, which would dominate its monetary policy for several decades. The gold standard ensured that the U.S. dollar could be exchanged for a specific amount of gold, providing greater stability and confidence in the currency. As the country's industrialization accelerated in the late 1800s, the U.S. dollar began to gain strength internationally. The gold standard also had a significant impact on global trade, as many countries began adopting similar systems for their own currencies. By the early 20th century, the dollar had become a major player in global financial markets, especially as the U.S. economy continued to grow rapidly. However, the gold standard would eventually come under pressure during periods of economic instability, including the Great Depression of the 1930s. The U.S. government abandoned the gold standard domestically in 1933, though the dollar was still pegged to gold internationally. The Bretton Woods Agreement, the dollar becomes the world's reserve currency. The most significant turning point in the history of the dollar came after World War II, with the establishment of the Bretton Woods system in 1944. The Bretton Woods Agreement, signed by 44 allied nations, created a new international monetary order. Under this system, the US dollar was officially pegged to gold at a rate of $35 per ounce, and other currencies were pegged to the dollar. This new framework effectively made the US dollar the central currency of global trade, as it became the standard against which other currencies were measured. The United States, having emerged from World War II as the world's largest economy, had the strength and stability to anchor this new system. As a result, the dollar became the world's primary reserve currency, used in international trade and held by central banks as a form of global savings. The end of the gold standard, the Nixon shock. In 1971, President Richard Nixon took a historic step by suspending the convertibility of the US dollar into gold. This event, known as the Nixon shock, marked the end of the Bretton Woods system and the gold standard, as the dollar was no longer tied to a specific amount of gold. While this move led to initial instability, the dollar's position as the world's dominant currency was not significantly shaken. In the years following the Nixon shock, the dollar transitioned to a system of floating exchange rates, where its value was determined by market forces rather than a fixed peg. Despite this shift, the dollar remained the world's primary reserve currency, supported by the size of the US economy and the dominance of American financial institutions. The dollar in the 21st century, a global power. Today, the US dollar continues to play a dominant role in global finance. It is used in over 80% of global transactions, and it is the world's most held reserve currency, accounting for around 60% of foreign exchange reserves worldwide. The dollar's importance is further solidified by its role in global markets, with commodities such as oil, gold, and wheat priced in dollars. The US dollar's influence extends far beyond its role in international trade. It is the currency of choice for central banks, multinational corporations, and investors around the world. The dollar's dominance has been reinforced by the size and resilience of the US economy, the liquidity of its financial markets, and the stability of its political system. However, the future of the dollar is not without challenges. The rise of alternative currencies, such as the euro and more recently, the Chinese yuan, has led to discussions about the potential for a multipolar global currency system. Nonetheless, the dollar remains at the heart of the global economy, continuing its evolution as a symbol of financial power. The dollar's enduring legacy. The history of the dollar is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of currency systems throughout history. From its early days as a colonial unit of trade to its position as the world's reserve currency, the dollar has undergone numerous transformations, each reflecting the economic and geopolitical shifts of its time. Thank you for joining us on this journey through eras. We hope you gained a deeper appreciation for the rich history and evolution of the US dollar. From its inception in early America to its central role in global finance, the dollar's story is one of resilience and transformation. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more captivating insights into the history that shapes our world today. Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.